What's going on, everybody? I'm Jfaniano and welcome to another Godfall video. Today I have a super strong early game build for you guys. I'm about 7 hours into the game and I just made it through the water realm, which is the second realm that you go through, and I had a very little trouble up until the water realm boss because of an early game build that I had all based around Zero's sword. So Zero's sword is a pre-order item that you get access to as soon as you unlock the Sanctum. It's a legendary longsword, and its primary ability is when you inflict bleed, fire up to 2 projectiles towards enemies, dealing 141 damage. This is insanely strong early game. Those projectiles can one-shot most enemies, and I was using this level 1 sword up until around level 21. Now, aside from the sword, you'll also want to use the Bulwark Valor Plate. This plate can be crafted super early with materials from the first area of the game, and it's completely based around bleed. It's got a 10% passive bleed effect, and its Archon ability increases that 10% chance to 100%, and you deal double damage against bleeding enemies. So as you can see, I was just building bleed so it can cause those projectiles to happen more often, and it would just absolutely annihilate all the groups of enemies that I came across and completely shred the bosses that I did run into. So for the rest of the gear, you want to build more status effect, or I think they call it ailments in this game, and you want stuff to build your Archon mode faster so you get that 100% chance to bleed. I actually had really bad luck with this, and none of my trinkets had ailment effect on it, but in the skill grid there is a passive that gives you more ailment effect chance and extra damage against enemies with ailments on them, so I went after that and the Archon duration perk primarily, while the rest of the perks I was taking was based on whatever gear I had at the time. For a while I had some trinkets that helped me build Archon faster by soul shattering enemies, so I went that route, and you are able to respec whenever you want, so you can change your skills to whatever you need at the time. As I said earlier, I used this tool around level 20, and that's when the sword's damage started to drop off even with upgrades. It was still usable against like ads and stuff like that, but other weapons I was collecting had higher DPS, and I didn't get much in the way of trinkets and other gear to support bleed or ailments. If you were to get better gear to support this particular setup, you could probably take this sword even further, but is still very much an early game setup, and we don't know if this sword can be collected later in the game or if it's based on a different sword and just changed cosmetically. I hope it is, because this could be a really cool endgame build with the right items, and I would likely make a full-fledged video on it, so stay tuned for that. I hope I find it later in the game. I hope it's not just only a pre-order bonus. But until then, enjoy this early game setup. It's super strong. I had a lot of fun using it. It's really cool to use Zero Sword, and it's not often that a pre-order item is actually usable for a significant amount of time, so this was a fun surprise. If you enjoyed the video or found it informative, a like rating is always appreciated, and consider subscribing to see my future content. Also, most of my builds are tested and made on my live stream over on Twitch, link in the description. Hope to see you there so we could talk more about looters and RPGs. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
678 million damage.